Hello, everybody. We Rabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 49. For anyone who watched last week's episode, thank you for tuning in. That was where we did our little 1-year anniversary. That's right. We're now in year 2 of the podcast. And yeah, we are back. I'm excited. We are kind of back to normal in terms of, talking about our weeks and then a bunch of news stories. We have like a bunch of news stories this time, and then a recommendation at the end. So back to normal. But yeah, every so often it's just fun to shake things up, and like we did last week, But yeah, we're back and we have plenty of stuff to talk about. Legend Jonathan is here, of course, my co-host. So say hello.
Yo, 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 what's up, guys? We back to normal. And yeah, I got some stuff to add. I got something to add to the plate, and I hope you guys like it,
Yeah, and then not only that, but the channel should be back to normal as well. Right after the episode anniversary thing, I started uploading some more playthroughs again, so that's going well. And yeah, hopefully, we can start getting back into the groove of things. People can start watching again, and we'll see where we go from there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, before we get to those news stories, there's quite a few of them, honestly, this time. I know that we were going to talk about our weeks. I had plenty to talk about. You had, like you said, something you want to talk about. So take it away if you're ready.
So to get this out of the way, I did one new thing, but I'm kind of gonna mention something that I have done up until this point because it's kind of like the gaming side that I've been continuing. I've been playing both Mario Wonder and Sonic Superstars still. I'm still continuing to enjoy it. I'll keep admitting that, yeah, I still prefer, Mario, honestly. It's actually kind of sad that usually I'm more on the Sonic side, but now I'm more on the Mario side again. Um, and yeah, I'm having really a bunch of fun, and I don't know, I hope this game, lives up to that hype, by the end. And
Yeah, I
then
mean, if it's been going good for you so far, I would think so. I doubt it's just going to be like, oh, this Mario game just totally like crapped the bed at the end. Especially since they're never really like huge on story or anything. That's where usually some things mess it up. I doubt it would just like totally drop the ball.
yeah. Um, and there really isn't much for me to talk about when it comes to Sonic. Mostly just Mario, because I've been more hyped with it. Um, so I do think that yes, I am gonna talk about the big thing now. So I watched this anime that it was recommended to me by, oh my God, it's actually funny. It was a teacher that he recommended it to me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna check it out because it's like an older anime.
Yeah.
It's called Tenchi Muyo or Mayo or Mio, whatever, pronunciation it's supposed to be. I'm sorry. Um, and basically, I think that you probably do want to go down a bit to show the character names, so I'm not used to them. Basically, it's about this boy named Tenchi, and basically he's doing is he lives with his grandpa in this area in the mountains in a shrine, and his grandpa tells him not to go near a cave that's gated off because supposedly there's a demon that's sleeping somewhere within that cave. And this idiot, he does is he ignores him and he goes off to that cave to see if that's even true.
Yeah.
And what a coincidence that this dodo bird, he accidentally pulls a sword out of a how do you call it? Not like a sigil, he pulls it out of a stone basically, and
Yeah.
he opens up this rock, it splits open, and he goes in and he sees this light.
And he becomes the king of Japan.
No, and this light is basically glowing. He's kind of wondering what it is, and this weird giant light monster kind of comes out and starts trying to grab him to kill him, and then the sword starts glowing in response to him getting attacked, and it almost wants to attack the monster. But then, I guess, because the dude's really scared, he runs off really quick. And then he does as quickly as the monster's trying to grab him, he closes the cape off right before it's about to grab him, and so it slams before the hand reaches through. And then he kind of just suspects that from there, everything's going to be normal, you know? And so he goes to school, like, I think like a month later. And a friend of him is like, "Oh, yeah, what was your summer like?" He's like, "Oh, it's a typical thing where I was with my grandpa and blah, blah, blah." And then the friend's kind of like, "Oh, well, have you ever met any girls this summer?" He's like, "No." He's like, "The only girls I met this summer were like old ladies or something like that." And so, like,
And his friend is like, I failed to see the problem. Just kidding.
no. And so basically, he kind of just tells me, "Yeah, it was boring, you know."
Yeah, I got
And
you.
then he's still thinking about the fact that, like that was kind of suspicious, the whole thing with the monster. And then like he even remembers that as a kid, he would try to open the gate, but he couldn't. And that the grandpa would constantly tell him not to. And so he kind of realizes that, yeah, he really did mess up that bad that, he could have listened to him, you know?
Yeah.
And so basically, one day I think, like, I forgot how it go. Oh, he went to the roof in the middle of the day, like during lunch. And
Of course, me and Terrifica talked about that, like in the Persona one. That Japanese, it's totally like a freaking trope that going to hang out on the rooftop you're not supposed to be in and chilling with your
yeah,
friends
it's
for
always
lunch and
cursed and
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And basically he sees this cat and he's like, "Oh, it's cute, hey kitty." And then like basically what happens is that like he gets knocked out somehow. And then he wakes up like at like daybreak and then he sees the cat again. But then randomly, like this girl attacks him. And then he's kind of like, "Wait a minute, like who's this girl? Why is she like, here trying to attack me?" And
yeah.
basically it's confirmed, like not even like 2 seconds later, he's like, "Wait a minute, are you that demon that like attacked me from the cave, like the giant monster?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm that monster." And then she
Okay.
basically points fingers at him that she's the same guy that basically almost killed her, like I think like 10,000 years before. And so that's when like the guy's like, "No, I'm not that guy, but he was my ancestor." And so she kind of even says, she's like, "Okay, well that doesn't make a difference. Like the same bloodline doesn't mean anything to me, you know." And so basically he's running away from her and he keeps trying to hide. And then because the fact that he knows that she's old but she looks young, he calls her ugly like multiple times.
Jeez.
And so she gets even more pissed each time. And so by the end, when she kind of burns down the whole building, it's a very comedic anime. That's the thing. Um, he's like cornered, and so he doesn't know what to do. And then I guess he still has the sword with him somehow, and it kind of reacts kind of like a lightsaber and a master sword, where it starts to glow.
Yeah.
But then what's crazy is that the sword, you can tell it's like sentient. Because
Okay.
like literally what happens is like he'll like be standing there scared, and whenever she tries to slice at him, like the sword will perfectly block it, and he's
Oh,
not
that's
even moving.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
so like
cool.
it basically fights for him. And then what happens is like I forget what happens where I think she tries to slice through him, but then like the sword blocks it so perfectly that it like attacks her back brutally. And so she kind of does it. She realizes that, yeah, like she can't do anything anymore. And so basically she tells him something like, "Oh, do you want to see a magic trick?" And then he's like, "Yeah, sure," which I don't understand why he was just casual about it, you know? But then she does something and then he kind of congratulates her saying that, like, I guess she's a good magician and she kind of says, "Thank you." And then she like leaves or some weird thing like that. And he gets home and then for some reason this girl's just laying in his bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
And
Why not?
yeah, and her name is Ryuki. That's her
Yeah.
name. And um and yeah, I guess this anime based off the way like it ends and based off the way I've seen like the genre, I think it's like a comedy in an action adventure, but
So
it's gonna be like a harem.
I would say it's supposed to be kind of like Yurusei Yatsura, where it's like, oh, this guy dealing with this girl that's I mean, what did you say she was again?
Um she's literally like a demon.
Like
Or
a
at least
demon
in this
thing?
first episode, it's implied that she's like a demon.
Okay. So I was gonna say it's supposed to be kind of Yurusei Yatsura, where it's like this guy and this weird, I guess here she's a demon while Lum was like a alien, right? But like, the relationship there and she's in love with him and there like I said, there's gonna be a harem and there's comedy. So is it like that style of thing, I guess?
I guess, except yeah, I would say the other series was so like the opposite, you know what I mean? In a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, the dude's name's Tenchi Miyasaki and
Yeah.
Ryoko Haku Hakubi.
And what's Tenchi like? Is he kind of like the guy from 𝐿𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿, where he's a huge perv and stuff? Or like
No.
what's this guy's like personality?
He's just more like typical anime protagonist. He's not really perverted in a sense.
So he's just kind of regular guy.
Yeah, the only thing he kind of does freak out is that the girl, when she's laying on the bed, her like robe is kind of open so you can see like her chest, like the middle part. And so he does get kind of like freaks out because, it's kind of weird, for him. But like that's basically it. Like he's doesn't really show perverted like actions, I guess you could say.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because the guy from 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, what's
Oh
his
no,
name?
I hate him. Ataru was so
Otaru, yeah,
perverted.
Otaru's just like a huge perv. Here, this guy's more normal. He's just like more average person sort of thing. Interesting.
Hmm.
I was looking it up. I mean, I don't know if it's like a spoiler, but it says that apparently Ryoko is a space pirate.
Yep. That's why I
So
was trying to
she's
not
not. Oh,
reveal it.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's much of a spoiler though, since you probably like as soon as you watch it, you probably know. I'm guessing. But
Mm,
huh, so she is also an alien. So it is also kind of like Lum. So that's kind of funny.
yeah, because I was gonna say in this first episode they didn't even reveal that she was like an alien. They
Yeah.
just assumed that she was like from the Earth and that she was just like some demon that like lived there, basically.
Interesting.
So like
Huh.
that's what I'm saying. Like that how do you call it, like that thing? Like
Yeah.
either it's gonna be introduced in the next episode or it's probably gonna be like one of those things that happens like midway through the franchise and you're supposed to kind of like scream your head off because you didn't expect it type of thing.
I mean, I don't
You know
think
what
it's
I
supposed to be
mean?
that. I don't think it's supposed to be that big of a twist. Calm down.
But you know what I mean? Most animes try to act like it's like a big thing, and then you're kind of like, we saw this a mile away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, this is a really old anime. Apparently, it came out in 1992. Wow,
Hmm.
and it's
It's
based
really old.
off of a manga, right? This is a manga. When did the
Mm-hmm.
manga come out? The manga came out in. Hold on.
1992.
Oh, same thing. So it basically started adapting it right away. Okay.
Hmm. That's why it was like
Yeah.
OVAs at the beginning.
Oh, that makes sense. Interesting. But all right, sounds interesting. Guess it's one of those. I mean, I don't know if you call it a classic, if I had never really heard of it before, but it's definitely one of those, old school anime series. And those are always kind of fun to watch. I kind of like jumping around and sometimes watching some of those old school ones.
Hmm.
It's kind of fun. See the whole
Yeah.
𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿 thing. That was like an old school anime that a lot of people didn't even know about until like it kind of had the revival reboot thing.
Hmm.
So it's kind of fun to jump to like some of the older stuff sometimes. There's still man, there's just so much anime out there. It's kind of fun to just go back to like some old stuff sometimes and kind of see what the story is there and cool stuff like
Hmm.
that. So that's always fun, I think. Cool, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
because
Are you
I know
enjoying
for
it then? Are you having fun with
hmm
it?
that was what I was gonna say because I know this one is one of those like more obscure, and I know a lot of people kind of play in that category, yeah, with Ursay, where it's like, oh man, when you watched it, you had to like watch it like back in like how do I say like back when like it came out on Toonami because it did come out on Toonami.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things where you had to like literally catch it or else you just didn't know about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, interesting.
Because yeah, it premiered at people were talking about it. It was one of those things that they tried adapting for Toonami's like Adult Swim portion.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you know how back then it was the Cartoon Network portion, then there was the Adult Swim portion.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess this was like the more latter part where it's like, oh, either you're gonna watch like Majin Buu arc or you're gonna watch this. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Hmm.
Nice.
So yeah, that was pretty much it.
So for you, it's just you been playing the same games that just came out, and then you kind of dove into starting to watch this series.
Hmm.
All right, pretty cool though. Pretty cool. All right. All right. As for my week, mine is pretty stacked. Not only did I have, some anime, but I have a few games and stuff. I guess I'll start with the craziest thing I played, and that's a good place to start. And I'm like, I wish I'd played it like a week or two earlier. That way I could have talked about it during our like Halloween, Spooktober whole, recommendation discussion. But the first thing I played was a game called The Coffin of Andy and Leyley. And okay, I had heard some things about this game here and there that apparently it's like kind of, you can kind of see it blowing up right now. A lot of people are looking into it because of how weird the game is. Oh boy. It is like a psychological horror game with like a lot of black comedy.
Yeah.
And it's basically about these two siblings that they have a very toxic, codependent relationship.
Damn.
And it's about how they're locked in an apartment. And basically they've been told that there's like a quarantine happening and that they have to like stay in the apartment. They can't leave. They can't leave the apartment, no one can come in or anything. And they're at a point where they're starving because no one has like given them food in a long time. And I'm trying to like really feel out what I can say without spoiling too much. But yeah, it basically becomes about what they want to do to survive. And yeah, this game, man, it's really crazy. The reason it's kind of blown up is people are kind of like, oh, this game, like, holy crap, it's really strange. It's an RPG Maker game, so it's kind of funny because it'll have like the little like sprites, right? You're like running around
Oh
the
yeah,
little
yeah.
environment. You're like doing little puzzles and clicking on stuff or whatever. And then it has like the art, right? That looks like very like detailed. Like you'll have like the little like art that flashes on screen sometimes, like almost like cutscenes, but they don't move obviously. It's just like the art, right? Um, yeah, basically this game, to mention some of the tags, it features murder, it
Damn.
features black magic, it features cannibalism, and it features yeah, some kind of implied incest.
That is nasty.
So it's really crazy because basically, yeah, these two, they just have like this super toxic codependent relationship. And it's all about them. It's just the two of them against the world, I guess you can say. And they do some crazy stuff to survive in their apartment because, like I said, they're starving because they're being locked in. And that's kind of what I'll say without spoiling too much. But yeah, as you play it, wow, it goes some crazy places. Wow, these two are just total sociopaths. And yeah, their relationship is just very, very strange.
That
That's all I
is
can really
so
say.
like
Yeah, that's all I can really say without spoiling it. But wow, it's really well done. Like it's really interesting. It's intriguing. You know what I mean? And there is kind of like it's kind of sad in a way when you kind of see like why, especially the girl. Basically, she's like the younger sister, and the brother's like a couple years older. I think I forget how old he is. But he's like a bit older, and so basically he's always the one that like the mom kind of made him take care of her because ever since she was a kid, she was kind of weird. And
yeah.
basically, he kind of became her like everything in her life. And then from there, that's just kind of where their really toxic relationship started to evolve. And so now, yeah, they're just like I said, they're in that apartment and they're just like, it's them against the world because they're being locked in. And like, why are they being locked in? What's up with them not getting fed by the people who are supposed to take care of them? There's like a whole thing there. And how does it lead into those other tags I told you about? Well, you just have to play and see. But oof,
Oh my God.
it goes some places, man. It's really crazy.
That's
Um,
nasty.
yeah, and then so far there's only 2 chapters out because it's like little chapters. Like once you get to like a certain part of the game, it'll be like end of chapter 1 and then like start chapter 2, right? So far 2 chapters are out. It's still kind of like early access. I don't know what you would call it. Like it's not complete. And I believe there's supposed to be, I don't remember if I read somewhere there's gonna be like one more chapter or it's like not known yet, but there's 2 out now and the story's supposed to continue.
That is crazy, bro.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And yeah, basically when you get to the end of episode 2, chapter 2, based on like decisions you make, you'll get different endings as like different endings that you could get. And yeah, you get some that implied thing comes a little more not implied. Or there's like even further murder and stuff, so it's pretty crazy. It's really dark. It's really, really dark. Like I said, it really goes places. It's like oof, really gory and stuff, really like unsettling, but at the same time it's balanced with some like dark comedy, some black comedy that kind of like, I don't know, it makes it even weirder, but it kind of like makes it like more um how can I say it? It kind of gives some levity to the situation. I don't know. It's weird, man. It's a really weird game, very crazy. But I gotta admit, it was really interesting, and I would like to like see how it ends. You know what I mean? So it's out now on Steam. First two chapters are out. If you like, psychological horror, and if you don't mind, black comedy and like the stuff I mentioned, I mean, maybe check it out. It is, like I said, a really pretty well put together game. It is very interesting, and it's not like super long, but it is long enough that at least you're at it for a while playing it. It doesn't end like in like a few minutes or anything.
Oh wow.
So that's one of the things I played. And like I said, I kind of wish I played it like a couple weeks back because I could have maybe mentioned it as our part of our recommendation, for the whole Spooktober season, because it definitely, fits into that vibe. It's very crazy, very dark.
Yeah.
Then from there, kind of lighten the mood. Another thing I played is a game I'd been excited for a while. I'm pretty sure we had talked about it on the podcast before when we had said like, oh, it was part of it was shown during one of the directs or something like that. I finally got to play Mineko's Night Market.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Remember we talked about that? Yeah, it's this game where the whole premise is that there's supposed to be like this little town that this like cat deity used to like live there or whatever until it got like kind of like chased away. And people don't know if it's like just a legend or if it was real, blah blah blah. And you're like this new girl that moves to that little town / village or whatever with her dad. It's just her and her dad. And basically the night market thing is that there's this night market every Saturday, like in the game, every day, once a week. There's like this market that it's kind of, like the island you live on, that little like village on the island or whatever. It's not doing that great. It's like not very populated. It's not like, it's kind of lost all of its former glory that the night market used to be really big, that had a lot of tourists, that sort of thing. It's fallen on hard times. And so your job is that you're trying to bring the night market back. And so the way it works is that it kind of reminds me of kind of like a mix of like Animal Crossing and maybe kind of like Stardew Valley and stuff, where the day you arrive there, the girl meets this kid and he says that he's investigating that cat deity. And there's like all these like agents, kind of like Men in Black looking agents that are like investigating different parts of the island. And so every time you go and you investigate a part of the island, from where I've gotten so far, you find like a piece of a relic that kind of seems to hint that the cat god was real. And then once you do some stuff to like get rid of the agents for that area and to get the relic, you unlock that area and you can use it to farm for resources. And so basically, as you're farming for resources, you can use that stuff to craft items that you then sell to the night market. And then as you sell them to the night market and you like build the market up, you start to unlock more things. Like there's more stalls and more like events in the market, that sort of thing. And as that grows and as you unlock more of that stuff, you also gain new abilities to like help your dad fix up like the little house you guys moved into, as well as help people around town with their little like 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 that little side quest for you, like, oh, craft this for me, or bring me this item that they only sell at the night market, stuff like that. So it's a lot of Sunday through Friday, you're farming for resources, you're making things, you're helping out people with their side quests, that sort of thing. You're building all of that up and building the relationships up. And then when it's the night of the night market, all the stuff that you've built during the week, you have like a little stall and you put them on display. And then like people will come by and they'll say like, oh, I want to buy like 3 of that, flower bouquet you made. And you try like name your price. There's like a little, like from lowest to highest. You want to put like somewhere like to see if hopefully they'll buy it. Because sometimes they'll buy it, you'll get the money. Sometimes they'll say it's too much, right? And yeah, it's just about making money and using it to buy like more resources and more tools and that sort of thing. So there's like that gameplay loop of like I said, Sunday through Friday, doing all these like tasks, all these chores, building up the relationships, and Saturday, the night market and selling stuff. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. And I like it so far. It's pretty good. Not the best game in the world. I heard a lot of complaints that people said it was a bit repetitive and that they said it's a bit slow, that sort of thing. And I do agree. It is kind of, that loop of kind of like I said, like Stardew Valley, where like think about like when you like grow your crops and like every day you have to like water the crop, do the stuff, and then harvest the crops, go sell them, and then get the seeds and like repeat, stuff like that. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, milk the cows and then use that milk to make the cheese, and then use the cheese to make like a recipe and then sell that to make money, like that kind of loop. It's true there is like a loop, right, where you're just like kind of repeating over and over, but it's still interesting in the sense that you unlock more things, build up the relationships, make new things. You're using it to like help your dad like rebuild the house. There's the new areas to unlock, more of the story about the cat god, that sort of thing. So I like the game. I think it's pretty fun. It is very indie, you know what I mean? So it's not going to be perfect. It's not like, like playing Animal Crossing or something where it's like super polished, or like something like Stardew Valley that's had so many updates where they just added so many things. But I still have enjoyed it. I still think it's fun. I still think it's charming. I like it, and I thought it was worth the wait. I've been waiting so long to play it, and I finally like was able to dive into it, and I'm having fun with it. I could see myself hopefully 100%ing it, or getting through the whole thing at some point, even if I'm kind of like playing a little bit of it, then I kind of put it to the side, do something else, come back to it. I've been having fun with it. I like it, and I've been playing it on Game Pass too, so I would recommend that if you have Xbox Game Pass, go check it out. It's free, so
Nice.
Yeah. So I've been having fun with it. And once again, Mineko's Night Market. So if you like that kind of thing, like Stardew Valley, or like, Animal Crossing, where you're like helping people and doing all this like crafting and building things up over time, unlocking more stuff or whatever, you might enjoy it. So, there you go. Jumping over to anime, I was finally able to watch Pokemon Paldean Wins episode 2. Because remember how episode 1 came out, and I was really excited to like the next week talk about like episode 2 and all that. And it's like, oh, they're releasing these like in a weird like order where like they just release it and then it can be like months till the next one for some reason. Like that's just the way they're releasing it. The second episode came out a bit of time ago, but I was just kind of waiting till we got through like the anniversary and all that stuff to talk about it. And again, I just think they're kind of fun. I kind of wish that not that there's anything wrong with like the current Pokemon anime or the one before that, starring Ash. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I kind of like these other like spin-off stuff they've done where it's like little glimpses into the universe and like different characters. I feel like the visuals are just like always like really good, and I feel like they're kind of like more interesting. It just feels more like the game sort of, and it feels like more like an actual look at the world instead of just focusing on like the character and like being like, oh, they're traveling around and they're just catching all these Pokemon. These make it feel more like an actual real life. If that makes sense. Like it feels like it's more like in universe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically, this second episode, I talked about it in the first episode that on the cover, like the main art, they have 3 different trainers, each with their different starter. And in the first episode, it was focused on that girl called O'Hara, and she's the one that had the little Fuecoco. And we did see, the other 2 trainers, because I guess it's gonna be one episode for each. And we had seen them, but they were kind of like a little supporting role. They were more in the background because it was focusing on O'Hara. This time we were focusing on Alikis, who is the guy with blue hair, and he has the Meowscarada. And it was really interesting because basically it starts with him fighting Emona, which I think it's cool, man. Emona's such a cool character. I love her. She was like she was what?
She's like the Goku of like the Pokemon universe.
Yeah, she loves fighting, and she's like super like spunky, and like I really love her. Like I loved her in the game. She was such a fun little rival. And yeah, she's fun like when they showed her in the anime, because she came on in Horizons as well for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And here, yeah, it was really cool because they show her, and basically Alikis is fighting her, and she's like totally stomping him, and she like defeats his Meowscarada. It's so hard. It's weird saying the name. She defeats his Meowscarada. It shows that she like attacks it, and it's like in the air, like because she like it doesn't show it like getting knocked out, but basically like implies like yeah, she totally like just beat its ass. It's like midair, just got like attacked by like her bird Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it cuts to Alikis that he's having a call. He's in the middle of like a Pokemon shop, and his, Masquerada is looking at like these like candies, and it's all like happy, just hanging out. And the person he's talking to tells him something about like, oh, like you lost to Nimona. And then we see like some stuff of like people talking about Nimona and how she's like champion level and stuff like that, and how she's like a battle prodigy. And then the guy tells him, I think it's implied to be like his older brother or something. He tells him like, next time you fight, you should like avoid using Meowscarada because it lost before, and you don't want to like reuse the same Pokemon and like make it easy for Nimona or something like that. And so it's all about how he's kind of like thinking about it and how like he kind of feels bad about not using his, starter because it's like his little like friend or whatever. But he's like, yeah, I guess, they're right. And then it cuts to him being in the classroom, and Ohara's in there, and she's talking about her whole flute thing from the previous episode. And they're talking about that video that the director made them do. They're talking about that. And then when she tells him something about how he lost or whatever, he kind of like snaps because, Masquerada was kind of hanging out, and it was like looking at the candy he bought for it or whatever. It was just like just chilling. And he kind of like snaps, and he goes like, well, I won't lose again. I lost it because of this one right here. And it's not my fault. It's, their fault or whatever, blah, blah. And then like they look over, and Masquerada's all like pissed and starts hissing at him. And then it slashes the bag of candy. And then it like runs away, like upset. And she tells him, are you going to go like after it? And he says no. And then that's where she kind of like says something about like, you've always been a good trainer. And that's why like you already have like your stage 3 starter. Because if you look at the other two, theirs are still their first evolution. And it's because like I kind of wonder about that too. I'm like, why are the other two still like the stage 1 and his is like stage 3? And it's because apparently he's such a like strong trainer that he like really pushed his little Sprigatito to evolve or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then, it shows that, they're thinking about that. There's a little flashback about him and the little Sprigatito and those little like candy orbs I was telling you about. And that one time they opened one and it had like these candy inside and stuff, like these sour ones, and it was good luck, blah, blah, blah. And he fights Nimona again, and he's still getting his ass kicked. And he like is gonna like get his next Pokeball, and instead he pulls out like that like candy orb. And he's thinking about like Masquerada and like all this stuff. And when he opens it, he has like the little like shiny candy. And that's when he like feels bad because I guess he thinks about his bond with his Pokemon, how he treated it bad. And so he like calls out to it, and it shows up to like help him because it was like watching from the window. And then he and Nimona both make their Pokemon go into that like crystallized form. And it ends where they're just like giving it their all. And he says that even if he loses to Nimona, it doesn't matter. Like they're not going to quit. And that's kind of where it ends. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Like them touching upon like a trainer and, I want to win. And they're trying to put like their starter to the side and his bond with it and stuff. And like, I don't know. It was pretty interesting for being like a little short, like 11-minute thing. I just think that these little shorts are always really good. Like all these little spin-offs, like they do such a good job of telling like these really good stories in a short amount of time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. I thought it was good. I liked the whole conflict he had about whether or not to use his starter, and how he like made it upset. He like regretted it and stuff. Like I thought it was a good story. It was a good conflict and resolution. And it was just fun seeing Nimona because she's just she's always like freaking kicking ass, man. It was just crazy. She was like kicking all his Pokemon's asses and stuff. It was just really funny. So these have been fun. So it's a shame that's only going to be 3 episodes and that they come out so infrequently, because especially since the whole journeys didn't really like cover the Paldea region at all. It's kind of a shame that they didn't. This isn't longer. It would have been cool if they had given us like a little, instead of like 3, give us like 12. Give us like even if they're like gonna be like shorts, give us like a 12 episode miniseries just to get more of this region. You know what I mean? It's kind of a shame we didn't get much of it. So
that kind of does suck.
Yeah, but it is what it is, I guess. And I just noticed. Wait a minute. I didn't mean Paldea because isn't Horizon supposed to be covering Paldea? Paldea, how do I say it? Yeah, no, the one I was talking about. I meant the one before that. I'm so my bad. It skipped the one before that. It skipped the region before. That's what I was thinking. But then I combined it with the whole Paldea thing. I don't know why. Because you know how the anime is kind of doing its own thing either way, where Liko and Roar are kind of traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, but they have covered a little bit of Paldea, for instance. Like they did show Nimona already and stuff, you know what I mean? But I think I kind of
Yeah.
combined the two things. But anyway, regardless, point is, I really enjoy it. It sucks that Paldean Wins is only going to be 3 episodes. I feel like these little spin-offs they do, they're like really well done. They always feel like really creative and like really, I don't know, they just feel like more deep, if that makes sense, which I don't know. Yeah. Then after that, another thing that I watched is that I watched this anime called, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. It's like Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I think that's how you say it. Frieren. It's like a weird word, right? But basically, this is an anime that started at the beginning of the season, and I was gonna watch it. It took me a bit to get into it because I had watched the other stuff I mentioned, but I've been watching it and I've been really enjoying it. That it's this fantasy series. And I love it. And I had heard people talk about it, and I agree. I love that it's a fantasy series, like actual fantasy setting, not any of that usual. I feel like fantasy always is tied to isekai now, right? Where it's always like if it's a fantasy setting, but it has to be like very video game based, very like, oh, it's an isekai, and it's like an RPG, and like all that stuff, right? Which I feel like I'm tired of that, right? So it's nice to have an actual fantasy setting that's just fantasy. You don't really have to worry about all that video game crap. And basically, a little bit of backstory. There's this team that they defeat the Demon King once upon a time. And it was a team of 4. The main one that, we're focusing on, it's the mage, Frieren, that's an elf. The hero Himmel, the priest, Hater, I think is how you say his name, and the warrior, 𝐿𝐤𝐤𝐿, something like that. And basically, they were a team. They traveled around together. They defeated the Demon King, but then they all said goodbye because the journey was over. And Frieren goes and like does her own thing. However, because she's an elf, she lives a long time, and she kind of like outlives all of her companions. And so it kind of is picking up where they're all basically gone. And so it's about her connecting to the human apprentice called Fern of the priest Hater or whatever, and they're traveling along to all these places that she originally went with all her like teammates, and they're kind of like reminiscing and stuff. And it's kind of like this thing about her being sad that she kind of regrets that she never like really got to know her teammates too well, and like she wishes she had like stayed more in touch and stuff, which is really interesting.
That does sound pretty interesting.
Yeah, so it's really unique. So it's drama, it's adventure, it's fantasy. It's all about this elf and how she feels bad that like, damn, I never really, connected with these teammates how I should have. Like I kind of took it for granted that I'm an elf. I live a long ass time, but these other people, they weren't elves. And so you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's just a really interesting, like I said, it's a very interesting premise. Like you don't really see that about this person kind of like reminiscing about this adventure that already happened. You know what I mean? And kind of like as they're doing like their current adventure and stuff. And I don't know. I really like it. It's very, very good. Like I said, it's just fun to have in our fantasy. It's just a fantasy without all like the video game isekai stuff. And it's still really fun though. It has like a lot of really good action. The drama's really good. It's kind of fun because in English it's called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. But in Japanese, I think it has like a different name, which I won't like spoil, because there's an episode where they kind of have like the title drop and it's like, oh, nice. You know what I mean? So like that's really fun because, she was part of the team that, fought the Demon King. So even though a lot of it's kind of, more drama and stuff, there's still a lot of action and she's still pretty badass. And you get to like see some of that. So it's kind of cool. You know what I mean? So it's just really fun. I really recommend it. I don't want to spoil too much. I say check it out. But yeah, it's called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I've also heard it called Frieren at the Funeral, which is kind of weird. And it's going to go for 28 episodes, so it's pretty long. And it's a unique number. You know how it's usually like 24, stuff like that? This is 28, so it's going to be around for a bit. And if anyone's interested, it's on Crunchyroll. And I guess it's also on Netflix in some areas, And I recommend it. Like so far, I think it's really good. Watched a few episodes. Like if you look on my anime list, it has a 9.01.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I would say I think it's pretty deserving. I think it's a pretty well done series. Like a lot of people who like knew about it were like really like excited and recommending it. And so far it seems like it's really, hit the mark. So pretty
Yeah.
cool. Pretty cool. I'd say check it out if you can. And we'll see how it does. And we'll see how much of the story it adapts and all that, So yeah, really cool. Glad to have it. I'm glad they finally got adapted since, like I said, it's really good. A lot of people were excited about it. So, Then after that, I watched the 4 episodes. It was like a little mini spinoff thing. I watched the 4 episodes of After School Hanako-kun, which is a spinoff of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which basically Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. It's this series about this girl that, how in like Japanese schools, they show us a lot. They have like the 7, wonders or whatever, right?
Yes.
And yeah, it's like the 7, weird things from around the school, and it's like these 7 mysteries or whatever. And it's always like, oh, if you go to this spot or that spot, it's like supernatural stuff, right? Well, basically, our main character, her name is Nene, and she had heard that if you like, 7th wonder, like last one or whatever, like the biggest one is that if you go to like the girls' bathroom and you knock on a certain stall, there's this ghost that'll like, make your wish come true.
Yeah, because that's an actual yokai who.
Yeah. And so basically she has like this crush on this guy. She wants him to return her feelings. So she's gonna go like ask for that. And long story short, she does not get what she wants. It goes wrongly. She gets cursed. And she meets the actual Hanako-kun, which is not a girl. It's actually this boy for some reason. Like he's just kind of like, kind of weird, right? He's in the girl's bathroom, but hey, he's a ghost, whatever. And he's like the head of the 7 mystery wonder thingies. And he basically saves her, but in exchange, they're like kind of like bound together now. And she has to work as his like apprentice to like work off what he did for her. And the main series is all about her helping him with the other wonders of the school and like keeping the balance of like the supernatural and the mortal world or whatever. And it's a pretty interesting series. I really liked it. I was hoping for like a second season because like the art's really interesting too. Like if you look at the art, it uses like a really bright color palette. It looks almost like, would you say like watercolor maybe? Like storybook? I don't really know how to explain it, but it has like a really interesting color palette. It has like a very interesting style. Like let me see if as I'm talking, let me see if I can like show you what it looks like. And then you tell me, like, do you think it looks like watercolor? Would you call it like what? You know what I mean? We'll look at that in a moment. But yeah, basically it's just like a little comedic spin-off that's supposed to be about how so she has to like work for him to like, pay off her debt or whatever. It's just like little comedic stuff about her helping him with like the jobs around the school and stuff. You know what I mean? All right, so you're looking at it. I'm trying to show it to you. Well, how would you describe the color palette and the style? Like storybook maybe? Like not watercolor. I'm looking at it now more clearly. But it's like very bright. You see what I mean, right? Like very bright, really heavy outlines and stuff. It's pretty unique, right? Compared to like other anime. Like it definitely feels more stylized, if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll just like say storybook style. I don't know what to call it. But the point is that it was fun. It was just like more lighthearted. It was very like, 4 episodes, very comedic. They're like little short episodes. They're only like 10 minutes each. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was just cool to see more of this like series. And I'm hoping that maybe this little spin-off will lead to a second season because it definitely looks like there's an interesting story there about like, his past and stuff that he went through, like becoming a ghost and his past life and stuff. So I had fun with it. It was fine as like a little comedic spin-off thing, but I'm still hoping that it'll maybe lead to more of the actual like series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And once again, that was called After School Hanako-kun, and it's on Crunchyroll. So, check it out. 4 episodes, 10 minutes each, very light, very easy to get through. And also maybe check out the original series, like the parent series or whatever, because it's also like really good. Like I said, it's just very unique. Really like the art style and stuff. And it's just like a fun story about this girl helping this ghost with like the whole supernatural side of the school and balancing it out with the mortal world and whatever. So fun series,
Yeah.
Then finally, the last thing I watched, and that was just like very recently, it just came out, is that Attack on Titan was taking forever to finish up. And so I'm gonna read to you what this last episode that I watched was, because I finally watched the finale. It's finally over. It was called Attack on Titan Final Season, The Final Chapters, Special Episode 2. A lot of people are joking. Tell me that doesn't sound like a Kingdom Hearts title or something.
It sounds like one, yeah.
You know, like Kingdom Hearts, like Final Chapter Prologue 2.8 or whatever and all that stuff. Like, dude, Attack on Titan Final Season, The Final Chapters, Special Episode 2.
No, why not just call it the final chapters? Since a lot of other animes have done that too.
Well, because it was the final chapters, but then they broke it up into part 1 and part 2.
But then you could have just kept it the same. That's literally the point. Like, literally, you could have just
Because they had already called this final season, it was final season like part 1, and then like final season part 2. And so like, what were they supposed to call this? Like actual endings. That's what's the final chapters, part 1 and part. I don't know, dude. I literally don't get their whole thing, dude. It should have just been like season 1, 2, 3, 4. And then at the end, final chapters, part 1 and 2 or something, right? Like
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They just kept stretching it out. I'm like surprised they didn't make it Attack on Titan final season, the final chapters, special episode 2, part 1 or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. All that aside, though, you know, we can make fun of like their title all we want. The point is, it's finally over. We finally got the ending. I don't want to spoil it because it's been like a huge anime for a lot of people. I was spoiled, you can say, because I was following the manga. So for me, the story has been over like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All I'll say is I think the anime does do a bit of a better job with the ending.
It.
Yes, because the manga, a lot of people were shit on the ending, me included. I just felt it was very, not tone deaf, but it's done in a way where it just feels very stupid. And it feels very like there's a lot to make fun of it. And the ending still isn't great, but I feel like at least because stuff is like more like, you know, padded out, like it's not just like a little bits of dialogue. There's like more to the conversations. There's more to like the characters, you know, and how they're interacting. And, you know, I feel like it was done better. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much, but like some of those last conversations into some of the characters were better done. And then like the way they like wrap things up was a bit better. I know in the manga, the ending was just really like, again, it's hard to say without spoiling it, but they just felt very like, really, just kind of like made you shake your head, made you feel like things were kind of like stupid, kind of like useless was the point. And here they kind of shake things up at least enough that it feels like, okay, it ends on a bit more of like a ambiguous note, maybe a little, I don't know how to explain it. But the point is, I just thought it was adapted a bit. It was really well adapted. That's something about the anime. It always did a very good job of adapting the story. So that was never a complaint. And here with the finale, I feel like they also did some adaptation choices that I think helped sell it a bit better. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But it's crazy to finally see it be over, man. This thing has been going on since so long, and it was so big for so many people. I just think it's kind of a shame that they dragged it out so long, because I know, for instance, from like season 2 to 3, it lost a lot of people because it took so long. A lot of people had kind of just lost interest, you know? And then they dragged it out with all this stuff too, and breaking it up so much that like, I'm sure it'll still do fine. But I do feel like they kind of like, maybe if they hadn't like padded it out so long and taken so long, maybe it would have been even more hyped, more like, wow, received. You know what I mean? Like, not that they did bad. Like I'm sure people are watching it. I think I even heard something about like Crunchyroll freaking just like crashing with so many people watching it. But I still think they could have been like even bigger. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I have my thoughts on it. It's whatever. For me, I enjoyed a lot of the journey. It was just near the end that it kind of lost me a bit. I think a big part of the journey was just so well done, really exciting. A lot of the stuff felt very well written until like near the end. So I would still say one of the all-time greats. I don't know what I would give it. Maybe like a 8.5 out of 10. I think the ending was kind of you know what I mean? But overall, very well done series. And if you haven't watched it, you know, go catch up, go finish it up so you can, you know, finish the story, because if you're following it, you might as well finish the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, and that is it for my week. So some anime, some games, and yeah, pretty good stuff. So there you go. Hopefully you guys check some of that stuff out. Hopefully I recommended something, mentioned something you guys will watch for yourself or play for yourself. So there you go.
Nice.
All right, jumping over the news. We took a while with our weeks. We kind of went into detail. Luckily, all of these are kind of short. They're not too long. It's more just like little, hey, go look at this thing, little like announcements, little updates. But we do have 5 news stories this week, kind of help make up for the fact that we were gone for so long and we hadn't done news in a while. So the first news story is that after forever that people were starting to say that this game was living up to its name because it was missing, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link launches in 2024. Teaser trailer, says the title of the article. And sure enough, even though it had been a long time and we hadn't heard anything about this game, and people were kind of, disappointed because the whole, what do you call it? What was that thing? That was like all these like video game conferences and stuff, and they just like never mentioned Kingdom Hearts 4, and they never mentioned this as well. And people were like, where's the updates, right? We finally got a teaser trailer, and we finally got like information that it said, coming out 2024, and that the whole, closed beta thing is starting soon. And it's kind of hard to really describe what happens in the teaser. It's one of those things where you have to be a fan of Kingdom Hearts to like really maybe even care about or understand what's happening. And it's not like it gives too much away anyway. It's just a teaser. But basically it shows like some story stuff. It shows some gameplay stuff. You're going to be playing as this like new character that he's dressed as like a, I don't even know how to call it. Like, I guess, people back in the Revolutionary War, they used to wear like those little triangle hats, like trifold hats. It's something like that. And like this big cloak. And it looks like they're part of like some sort of like an army that's helping to like defend and go to different worlds, all these Keyblade masters or whatever. And basically, yeah, it's about how you're like in this big like city, and it's like, yeah, it's like this huge city, and it has like very, what would you call that, like architecture style? I don't know what you would call it, but a lot of like big towers and spires and stained glass everywhere, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like very cathedral looking, and basically it's going to be about that. What we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3, Scala. What do we call it? Scala at 𝐿. It's going to be basically back in its heyday, back when there was like this whole like city living there and like this army and stuff. And it doesn't really give too much away. It just looks like, you see some like familiar faces, you see some new faces. It's said that it's going to be like a GPS weird mobile game thing, and you're using like these little statues to fight. And the visuals are really good, though. The fighting looks pretty interesting. It doesn't look like it's just like click, click, click to win. You know what I mean? It looks like there's some like strategy and stuff you have to use. It looks more, I guess you could say, more Chain of Memories than Union X or whatever you call it. And it looks interesting. It looks cool. And I'm still excited, even if it's not exactly what I've been looking for. I still want to like check it out or like watch like a Let's Play of it or something to like know how it connects to what we're gonna play next. And I don't know. It's weird, but it looks very interesting. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we finally have a release date approximately. We know they're not expected this year, sometime next year. And yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes, see how it connects to the story. And it sucks because obviously it's going to come to like Japan first. And we'll just have to see when it finally like reaches other places. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I'm excited. I still look forward to it and seeing what it does, because I don't know. I think all the games have been fine. Even the mobile ones, I'm not like a huge fan of them, but they were still kind of cool in their own way with at least like the story stuff it added and all that. It was fine,
Yeah.
So yeah, Kingdom Hearts, Missing Link, look forward to that and check out the teaser trailer,
Yeah.
Then jumping over to another thing that's been kind of missing for a while, so to speak, we finally got an update about Deltarune, which is the Undertale like sequel thing. As the title of the article states, Deltarune Chapter 3 nearing completion. Paid chapters to launch once chapter 4 is complete. So yeah, basically they released chapter 1. Then a while later, they released 2 years. Actually, I just looked at it. Wow, more than 2 years later, they released chapter 2. And then after that, basically the creator Toby Fox had said that he was going to try to make chapter 3, 4, and 5. And then when all 3 of those were done, he would release it, but you would have to like pay for it because of how the first 2 chapters were free. Basically, though, based on the interview that he put out, and based on like the little article title I read earlier, he decided, as it says here, I'll just read it. It says, "My original plan was to release chapters 3, 4, and 5 together," Toby Fox said. "However, the finish line of chapter 4 is still pretty far off, and I don't think anybody really wants to wait that long to release anything, especially me." Toby Fox continued, Chapter 4 already has a very substantial amount of cutscenes and enemy work done. Also, I've hired a new producer whose entire job it will be to speed up the overall game development for the future chapters. So I feel very optimistic about the next steps of this project. So yeah, basically change the plans. Instead of 3, 4, and 5, finish them all, and then release everything. He's basically almost done with 3, pretty far into 4. And then basically when he releases 4, he'll release those 2 together. And then I guess 5 as the finish sometime after.
Yeah.
So bad news is we still don't know when this is coming out. Doesn't exactly give like a release date or anything. Seems like it's still going to take a while to get the full story. But at least he kind of changed his plans up. And at least we know that like, okay, instead of having to wait till chapter 5, which by his own words is going to take a long time, at least it'll be like a bit sooner than that, since chapter 3 and 4 are pretty far in,
Mm-hmm.
So I would estimate, I don't know, let's say maybe like late next year.
Yeah.
I could maybe see that, right? If he says 3 is pretty far along, and it's like, no, like 3 is close to completion and 4 is pretty like well put together, and he has like a new producer or whatever, maybe like in a year. I could see that. Although that might be still being optimistic, but like, all right, we'll see how it goes. But at least, we kind of have an update. We kind of understand a bit more now. So cool,
Mm-hmm.
So again, look forward to that. And at least we got an update. It's better than nothing, I guess. Then this next one is really interesting. We're going to have to see how this one goes. I know you were talking about it when you were like, saw it and you're like, oh yeah, we'll have to like, as it says, 3D action platformer Sonic Dream Team announced, but it's for Apple Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you look at the trailer and like the images, it's this really cool looking Sonic game. It's going to have 6 playable characters. It's going to be Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Cream, and Rouge. The art style looks really well done. The levels look really interesting. But the unfortunate thing is that you're like, oh, cool. When is this coming to like consoles? And it's like, oh no, it's Apple Arcade only. So
Yeah, who said anything about consoles?
Yeah, which I don't know. I mean, some of these games later get ported, which is what I'm hoping. We'll have to see though. But it would kind of suck if it just stayed on like, Apple Arcade. But that's the thing though. Apple Arcade, at least the way it works though. Yes, it's iPhone and like iPad, but it's also on Mac and Apple TV. So it's not exactly just a phone game. You know what I mean? Like it does have usually like controller support. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where like if you look at like the gameplay too and like the images and stuff, it doesn't look mobile gaming. Like it doesn't look like you're just like clicking on stuff to like win, if that makes sense. It looks like it does say like it is an actual platformer. So once again, I think it's just one of those things that maybe it'll be on Apple Arcade and like for a while and then get ported. Or even or even if it doesn't, at least it looks good. Like I said, it doesn't look just like, click on like the screen, just tap it to win. Like it is a platformer. It does look like it has some promise, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. So it's kind of a bummer. It looks really good. We'll have to see what happens. But if not, then I don't know. I mean, maybe, keep hope that it gets, ported. If not, at least it doesn't look like it's a total mobile game. It does look like it has the gameplay and stuff. So I don't know. Mixed feelings about it, but I'm trying to stay optimistic, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you that you're so into Sonic? What are your thoughts on this?
I don't really care for it, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, when I saw it, I was kind of like, ah.
I don't know, because I think it looks really good. I think the levels look really interesting. I think the fact that there's 6 playable characters looks pretty cool. Like, I'm surprised you're not interested because I think it looks really like creative and stuff. But all right, I guess it is what it is. I guess.
Yeah.
All right, be a loser then. Get all mad. Be a loser then. See if I care. Just cancel the podcast right now. Just leave. But all right, I'm surprised. I thought maybe you'd have more to say about it, but well, there you go, guys. So I don't know, be excited or not. It's up to you, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. What happens when the game actually comes out, and if it gets ported or not. So there you go. Personally, I think it looks cool though, so we'll see. All right, the next two have to do with anime. This first one, actually, no, it's manga. Sorry, this first one is pretty short. I just kind of threw it in here because I know we've talked about this before, and so I just thought it was kind of interesting. But it says Deadman Wonderland duo work on new manga, and I just thought it was really interesting because even though if you read the article, it does say manga creator 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿 announced on Sunday on X that they and Kazuma Kondu are currently preparing for a new manga series. Kotoka did not reveal any other details for the new manga. So unfortunately, there's not much news. It's not like this to go like, oh my god, we have like all these details. However, I still threw it in because I know we've talked about Deadman Wonderland. We talked about how we thought it was really interesting and stuff. And it was really cool because I didn't know, first of all, that the people who created it was a duo. I didn't know that.
I thought it was just one person.
Yeah, because I know every so often it does happen. Like, for instance, the guys who made Death Note, it was also 2 guys. And then they're the ones who also made was it called like Bakuman or something like that, where it was like a whole series about wanting to be a manga creator and like making adaptations and stuff. I think it was Bakuman, right? Something like that. But yeah, like I knew they were a duo, for instance, and I know they worked on that. They worked on Bakuman. They worked on that terrible series about like the death game where at the end the guy just kills himself, the new god or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I know they've worked on a few things, right? So I know that duos do happen sometimes. Again, for instance, the guy who worked on Kaguya-sama Wants to Be Confessed To. No, yeah, no. Yeah, Kaguya-sama Love is War, whatever. I know that the Kaguya-sama guy, he's also doing Oshi no Ko as a duo with somebody else. Like, he's the writer, the person's artist. So I know it happens sometimes, long story short, but I didn't know that Deadman Wonderland was a duo. So hearing that not only was it a duo was interesting, but hearing that they're working on another manga series, and apparently they've done a few of them. They did Retropolis Scratch, Smoking Paradise. They worked on Eureka. No, it's not Eureka. It's how do you pronounce it? I know it's not Eureka. It's Eureka 7. I forgot how you say the title. It's like really weird though. Point is, they've worked on a few manga together. So I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I never would have guessed that. First of all, it was a duo, and second of all, they've worked on a lot of stuff together. Really interesting to hear that they're working on another thing, coming up soon. So I was like, that's just kind of cool. Just thought I'd add that in there because I just thought it was very interesting. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Hopefully it's good. I gotta admit, I haven't checked any of the other stuff out, but now that I know that they've worked on a few things, I'd probably check it out, especially since I thought Deadman Wonderland was pretty interesting. I'd like to see more of like what their style's like and what they've created, you know what I mean? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And then the last news story to kind of close it out has to do with, anime, manga, all that stuff. But we finally got the intro for Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which is the little Netflix, anime adaptation of Scott Pilgrim, the graphic novel series. And basically, yeah, it's like we got the little intro and it looks pretty cool. It's definitely in that style of the original, graphic novel. And it's pretty cool because it has the intro song. It's like very 8-bit, kind of like the games. It feels like it's like that type of music that they're kind of going for, like that kind of aesthetic. So even though I'm kind of disappointed because I really did like all of like the rock that they used in the movie, You know what I mean? They use all these bands and stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is a bit different because it is more like 8-bit. It's more like what's the name of the 8-bit? More
Chiptune.
chiptune. That's the word I was thinking of. There we go. It's more chiptune style. So it is very different, like from like the kind of music they would use like in the movie, but it is still very cool. And it is like the kind of stuff they used in the game. So it's pretty cool. And it just looks very well done. And it comes out very soon. It comes out November 17.
That is very
So
soon.
yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for this. It looks like they really put a lot of work into it. So yeah, I just can't wait. It's just like every time I hear more about it, it just seems very cool. And I just really want to watch it. You know what I mean? I plan to just like just sit down the day it comes out, like watch it day one. So good stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be linked in the description below. Check it out. It has the intro, has some more information about the anime, that sort of thing. So, you know, there you go. Alrighty, guys, that is our news for this week. 5 news stories. Like I said, they're kind of short though, because all of them are kind of more of like announcement slash updates. You know what I mean? But all the same, I think these are some things to look forward to, some things to be excited about. So we'll just have to wait and see for some of these when they finally come true, though. You know, like the whole missing link thing and Deltarune and that sort of thing. But I don't know. It gives you a lot to look forward to. That's what I think. So I'm excited. And I hope that whoever's listening to this, hopefully you are too, you know? Speaking of which, going off to our last section of the podcast for the recommendation of the week has to do with the last news story. I think that people should check out the Scott Pilgrim franchise. You know, the anime is coming out very soon. It's coming out November 17. But before that, there's the movie, there's the video game, there's the graphic novel series. So I would say there's a lot that you can check out in preparation for the anime, basically, right? Yeah, like the graphic novel series, if no one's ever checked it out, it's really well done, really fun. Basically that's what, you know, inspired the rest of the franchise. And I just think like the graphic novels are really fun. I like it because up until now, that's how like the only way to get like the full story. You know what I mean? Because even though the movie's really good, which I'll talk about in a moment, the movie kind of like deviates at the end and it does its own thing. So the graphic novel series, definitely recommend it. I think it's really fun, really well done, really fun read. And there's some stuff that, you know, is just different in the manga slash, you know, like graphic novel series versus the movie. So I think that's worth checking out. And then the game's worth checking out because it's a little beat 'em up with all these different characters to play as. And again, it's just in that universe and it kind of adapts the story, but it's still very different. But if you like beat 'em ups and you like, you know, sprite based, you know, games and you like little like, you know, listening to like little 8-bits, like chip tune music and stuff, really well done. In fact, you know, my channel, the end credit, you know, sequence, the title card stuff, it's based on one of the, you know, songs from the Scott Pilgrim video game. Fun fact. And then the movie, of course, is probably the most well-known thing of the franchise. And the movie is just really well done. It's directed by Edgar Wright, who's like this really creative director that he also made, you know, the Hot Fuzz, you know, he made Hot Fuzz, he made Shaun of the Dead, The World's End, you know, he made like that trilogy. And then he also made Baby Driver. He made oh man, originally he was supposed to make Ant-Man before things fell through, you know, stuff like that. But he's made like a lot of movies, and all of his movies are like very creative. Like they use music like really interesting. They have a lot of interesting like transitions between scenes, that sort of thing. So I don't know, it's just very, very interesting. His like directing style. And yeah, basically he directed this movie. And it's just like such a creative movie, man. It's like a very like great adaptation of like a comic book. You know what I mean? Like there's scenes where literally it's taken and shot basically the same as like the comic panels. And then like everything is so well done where like when a character like gets introduced, for instance, it might have like the little box, the way like the comics would have it, where it has like a little blurb about them, and then it has like sound effects, like the onomatopoeias or like actual words. Kind of like think like the whole like old school Batman when they would punch somebody and it would say like "pow," like kind of like that style of stuff. Like on screen, it has stuff like that, and then like very video game influence with like the music, the action, all that stuff. And then like the music is really well done because they got a bunch of like actual bands like Beck and Metric, sorry, to like make the music. And then it has so much actors that would go on to make all these like to like be really famous. Like the main character is Michael Cera, which has been in a bunch of stuff. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, which has been in all sorts of movies. Kieran Culkin, who's Macaulay Culkin's brother, that he's been in some stuff. Chris Evans, before he was Captain America. Brandon Ruth, I think is how you say his name. He used to be like Superman, and he's in some other DC stuff. He's in it. Brie Larson before she was Captain Marvel. So like I don't know, just all these like freaking like famous people before they like were that big. You know what I mean? Like they started here in this movie, and so it's just so interesting and so cool. And it's just such a fun movie. It's like so meme worthy, quote worthy. Like, it's just so good. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I just think it's so well done. It's like insanely rewatchable and stuff. And it's just really good. I would say just check it out. You know what I mean? It's a very good adaptation.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun movie. I've seen it a few times already, and
I
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so well done. Like everything about it's really good. The characters, the comedy, the music, the visuals, the references are really good. And like I said, it's a really rewatchable, which is really cool. It's just really good. I just think it's very, very well done. I really love it. I recommend it. And up to now, it's basically been like the most what do you call it? It's been like the most well-known part of the franchise. Like people know it, a lot of people know it more than like the graphic novels or the game or whatever. And like I said, with the anime coming out soon, it's like one of those things where like I recommend just watching, just engaging with all of these things from the franchise kind of in preparation for the anime. So and then the best part, if you love all the characters from the movie, everyone is reprising their roles for the anime, which is also really interesting.
That's
that's exciting. That's really cool. The fact that they seem to have gotten everybody back is like really incredible. So I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where it's like, check it out. It's just a really fun series. I don't think you'll regret it. So, check it out. I hope you do. Alrighty, guys. With that being said, that should be it for now. That is the end of the podcast. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully, you guys had fun listening to it. Hopefully, we mentioned some stuff that everybody wants to check out or will look out for. Since some of the stuff, is kind of in the future. And yeah, I had fun. I just thought there was a lot to talk about. I know this one's kind of run a bit long, but that's because there's just so much content. You know what I mean? But yep, we'll try to be back next week, hopefully, with more. We'll see how it goes. We'll try our hardest. And yeah, hopefully you guys have a good one. Thank you, Legend Jonathan, for being here, of course,
You're very welcome.
Alrighty, everybody take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.